I'm trying to figure out how to say this without sounding shady. Hey y'all, my name is Shannon Ray. Good morning, or good afternoon, good evening, wherever this finds you. I hope you're doing well. If you are new here, I want to offer you my sincere salutations. We come together each week and we discuss life, love, the pursuit of purpose, and everything else in between. It's about our collective journeys and what we're learning from them. So, if you're into that sort of thing, you know, positivity, love, and light, all that great stuff, I would suggest you hit that like and subscribe button. Also, and you heard it here first, we've got a lot of good things rolling out of Hey Shannon Ray that are going to be coming up in the next couple of months, so I don't want you to miss it. Like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. Like a new podcast dropping, you'll be able to get Hey Shannon Ray as a podcast uploaded to you on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you listen. And on July 6th, Wednesday, July 6th, my best friend and I, Benita of She Is Benita, are going to be dropping our very own podcast available on our YouTube page. So be sure to follow us here for all of those details. And we will also be available on Spotify as well. Like, comment, subscribe, join the tribe. You don't want to be the one left behind. Tell a friend. Tell them Shan sent you. Well, y'all didn't tell me I was ashy. Wash my hands a lot, so therefore I have to moisturize a lot. Do y'all think like the Egyptians in them, do you think that they use lotion? Probably not, huh? Well, maybe. This is why I will never take weed, because my mind is random enough on its own. Smoke weed. Well, I guess you can take weed, right? Like if you're having it in a brownie, that's taking it, right? Or like a piece of cake. Do y'all have it in cake? I just assume if you do a brownie, you would do cake. No? But I know you do lollipops, so that you can take a well, you eat a lot of, well, edible, because it's. Hey, so real quick, have you ever seen someone that's just kind of stuck on a dream that they wanted that hasn't come to pass yet, and so that's all they talk about? Stuck on what they thought their life would be, where they thought they'd be at this age, what they thought they'd be doing at this stage, where they thought they would be in their career. Or kind of the worst part, stuck in the past, like what they believe their heyday to be. Maybe they're still talking about being an athlete when they played in college, but they're long since removed from college, or when they played in high school, but they're even longer since removed from high school. Is there a way to say this without sounding petty? Because I don't mean to be petty. Like, is it petty if it's true? Okay, so let me give you an example, right? Sometimes you got to let things go, not because you weren't great at that. It's just time to be great at something new. For example, say what? Yeah, let it go. God bless. I guess the opposite on being stuck in the past is kind of equally damaging, right? If you're always thinking about the future, what you want to accomplish, what you want to do next, what you want to check off of your list of accomplishments, what it is that you want to tackle in the world, always being on your mind, always being your primary focus, always being the thing that you have in sight. Okay, you got this, but now you're going for this. You've got this job, now you want the promotion, now you want the raise. Not ever really fully being invested in any part of your life that you can control, which is the right now. I've been thinking a lot lately, per usual, very reflective. It is July. It is the second half of the year. It is a brand new quarter. And there's a lot to think about when you're trying to look at the trajectory of where you want your life to be next year this time, or in the next few years, and you do have to keep focus of that. But I ended up having this moment that made me realize that I needed to focus on what I've already done and where I'm at right now. I'm sure, like many of you, I had a review recently to just look at my progress so far. I started a new position recently, so I had my 90-day check-in just to talk through what I accomplished so far in the 90 days, where I saw the next 90 days going, and what I wanted to get done before the year was over with. I, in that meeting, kind of laid everything out. This is what I've done to date. This is what I want to do next. And I spent a heavy amount of time talking about the future plans for the rest of this year, as well as 2023, next year. What was really interesting was that my manager made me back up. Oh, first of all, Shannon, let's talk about what you've done in these 90 days. You don't want to just scroll past that, don't want to brush past that. This is important work. Let's just sit here for a moment and talk about what your experience has been and talk about how you are feeling. How are you enjoying the team? What do you feel like you contribute? Do you realize how valuable you are? These are the areas that I've seen great work from you in, and I want to see even more of it because I had no idea you had this talent or this skill or this ability. And it made me think about my life in totality. I needed to take a second just before I dive into next year, because I'm not saying don't have a strategy for your life. I deeply believe in that. But before we start talking about what's going to happen over the next 6 months, before we start talking about what's going to happen in this quarter, let's take a minute to celebrate, to reflect, to be in the present. So for today, what I wanted to talk about is something that I think that we're all guilty of, something that I have to consciously and actively do for myself as well, which is don't miss your happily ever after. So after having that 90-day review and thinking about how I was kind of breezing past this moment, went home, I sat down, I just kind of took a beat and thought about where I am in my life right now. I'm in a career. My main goal, my absolute reason for being there is to impact the lives of people that look like me. And I do it on a global scale. I am in a position where I'm able to live where I want, to have options on where I can relocate. I have opportunities to live in different states, different countries, and I'm really weighing out those opportunities, what's going to be the best next step. I'm in a position where I can spend time with my family. I just had this really amazing vacation with all of my family, my dad's side of the family, my grandma, my uncles, my aunts, my nieces, my nephew, my brother, my parents. And it was amazing to be able to get a house out there together and just spend time together. I have great friends, I have a great family, and I am so incredibly fortunate. I'm not in a position where I look around and feel like I'm missing out on anything. I'm not in a position where I feel like there's anything that I lack. My cup runneth over. I feel so much joy and so much love and so much peace and contentment. I feel confident. I feel capable. And those things are huge. There was a time not that long ago, just a year ago, where I wasn't sure about what life would look like for me in the next 3 months, in the next 6 months, in the next year. I had no idea that I would be in the place, in the space that I am now. All I had was trust and faith that God would work things out better than I could ever plan for myself. It's amazing because what I could have done is what I think a lot of us do, not because we're intending to make our lives harder, not because we're intending to put ourselves in a worse position, but because something has happened that we needed to recover from. Something has happened that has caused us to change and transition and shift. And even if it's a good thing, change is still something that you have to make adjustments for. Even if it's a good thing, there is still a bit of mourning. One of the things that I think that keep us from seeing that we're already in our happily ever after is because we stay in the mourning. Before I dive a little deeper into that, I want to be really clear on what I define as happily ever after. Happily ever after is the moment that you decide to come into agreement with God's plan for your life. That is the beginning of your happily ever after. It doesn't look the way we expect it to, the way you see on movies or hear about in books. That's not real life. Happily ever after is trusting God to work out the plan for your life instead of trying to be the author of your fate. Happily ever after is trusting that even when things don't look like what you expected them to, you trust that they will be better than anything you could have done on your own. Happily ever after is facing the loss of someone that you thought would be in your life forever, but choosing to believe that God would not only heal you, but use remnants of that relationship to help or heal others. That maybe you didn't get the job that you thought that you wanted. Maybe you didn't end up in the career or the profession that you wanted, but the job or the career or the profession that you end up in changes your life, impacts your life in ways you never ever would have experienced had you gone a different way. Knowing that God is always working things out for your good is happily ever after. We get confused because we stay in the mourning. We can't see the gift. The mourning is painful. The mourning is stretching you and breaking you and putting you in a position to be uncomfortable. And so we confuse things like comfort for peace. We confuse things like not feeling like you're in a good position, not liking the position you're in, with not being in alignment with God. Alignment doesn't always look like ease. Alignment doesn't always feel like happiness. It feels like loss. It can feel like despair. It can feel like being confused. By no means does coming into agreement with God mean that your obstacles don't happen anymore. Matter of fact, chances are you see a little bit more than you did beforehand, but it is the trust, it is the assurance that you will have peace. It is the trust, it is the assurance that things will work out. We can't get stuck in the morning, because if we stay in the morning, we miss the miracle. The miracle is, if I would have stayed where I was a year and a half ago, I wouldn't have had this job. I wouldn't have had these opportunities. I wouldn't be launching businesses. I wouldn't be in a position to do the things that I'm able to do for myself and for my family. I wouldn't be able to connect to people who need somebody to connect to. I've had these amazing exchanges with folks who have gone through some really terrible things. I've gone on a healing path that has taken me far beyond recovering from an old relationship. It's recovering from childhood trauma. It's recovering from wounds that I had since I was 8, 9, 10 years old. It's recovering from things that happened in middle school. It's recovering from things that happened in high school. It's recovering from things that happened when I was in college. It's recovering from things that I allowed to happen to myself that have broken me down. It's recovering from thinking that I had to be one way because of what a perception was, and accepting that the only identity I needed to have was the one that God had given to me, because it's the only one that matters. It's the only one that's valid. If you stay in the morning, you miss the miracles, and the miracles are happening with every single breath that you are able to breathe. So take a moment, feel your feels, and push forward, because you will miss your happily ever after. You will miss your miracle. I believe another thing that we do is we focus on the difficulties. If we're not in the morning, we're still probably coming up against some type of obstacle, tension, or exchange that we're having to navigate, we're having to work out. And that can be incredibly frustrating. It starts to feel cyclical. You'll be doing well for a while, and then boom, something comes up. Something throws off your balance. Something throws off what you have going on, and now you have to make new adjustments. I sometimes wonder if the reason that God has to do that is because the only time that we can remain fully committed to God is when we're in crisis, or the only time that we are focused on God is when there's a problem we have to solve. We get so focused on the difficulty or the thing that has come up, the new ask of us from God, the new obstacle that we're having to face, that we almost forget the fact that God has already showed up for us, because all we can see is the difficulty. I very often think about the story of Abraham and Isaac for several reasons. Mostly from the point of view of Isaac, like, you're my dad and you were about to offer me up as a sacrifice to God. And yes, God is big homie God. Absolutely believe in God, but you won't even go talk about it to me. We're walking up the mountain there. I'm carrying my own sticks that I'm gonna lay myself down in and be a sacrifice. Me not even realizing that you planning to sacrifice me. I'm carrying the sticks. You know what I'm saying? I'm carrying the sticks. I'm helping you walk up there so we can burn this fire from the sacrifice, not realizing that I'm the sacrifice. That had to be tough. And then I think about Abraham. Abraham had been praying for this son for years and years after his body was technically dead, after his body had passed the point that they believed that he would be able to father a child. Here comes this beautiful son, Isaac. And Isaac is incredibly important to the lineage of God, to the lineage of Jesus. And so Isaac is born, and they don't know how incredibly important he is then, but they do know that he's an actual living physical example of a promise. God had made a covenant with Abraham long before Isaac came along. But do you think that there was no struggle, no pain, no frustration, no desire to rail against God when God came in and said, offer me your son whom you love as a sacrifice? For Abraham to do that, how much of a struggle it must have been to have been walking with God for this amount of time and still being asked to give up the one thing that you have been praying for so long. And then it hit me. Abraham had faith through his good times and his bad times because he had a covenant with God. God had already shown himself faithful, We can't focus on the difficulty and ignore the fact that God has shown himself faithful. I can't sit in a position to tell you how to feel about the cancer coming back. I can't sit in a position to tell you how to feel about not being a mother yet after you've tried so hard. But I can sit in a position to tell you that God doesn't fail. He won't fail you. He didn't fail Abraham. Isaac and Abraham walked up that mountain carrying those sticks with the intention of Isaac being the sacrifice, but with the hope and the faith and belief of Abraham to do what's going to be best for all involved. Because Abraham had such a level of faith, God provided a ram in the bush. Our God is the God of Abraham. He can, he will, he has gotten you through. Do you ever kind of like wonder about what they talked about on the way back down? Abraham and Isaac, they're walking back down the mountain. He's untied Isaac, and Isaac's kind of just looking at him because Isaac wasn't like a chap, you know what I'm saying? He had grown up. He was old enough to understand what was going on. He was old enough to ask the questions, you know what I'm saying? What must that be like? What do you say? Hey, Dad. Up. Daddy issues. Oh God, it started there. So as I was kind of thinking and comparing where I am now to where I was last year, to where I was the year before that, decade before that, the growth, the lessons, and all of that good stuff, it made me kind of start thinking about the plans that I had made for myself at the top of the year, why I made those plans, and what was it that I was trying to prove? Was it something for myself, or these just things that I've always wanted to do? Some of them I know for a fact are God aligned because they're things that God has been telling me to do, but I wonder about some of the other things. Am I doing this laundry list of tasks? Am I going after all of this stuff because I believe in myself and I believe that this is the time to do it? Or do I feel like I'm running out of time? Do I feel like I'm trying to catch up to something that I've lost, catch up to something that I've missed out on? If I'm being honest, there's a little bit of both. I know that I'm supposed to start these businesses, but I don't have to start them all at once. I know that I'm supposed to share certain stories and talk with God's people, but it doesn't happen all at once. There's a program that I'm looking into, and I was so taken aback by the fact that these programs are 3 years, 4 years. I'm going to be almost 40 by the time that I'm done with some of these programs. Then I realized, what am I giving authority to over my life? Am I giving my authority to time? Am I giving my authority to man's standards of where you should be at a certain age? Who has the authority in my life? God is the one who says what the right timing is. God is the one who says what I should be doing next. If I'm in alignment with him, if I'm trying to live out our happily ever after together, then I need to make sure I'm putting the right authority over my life. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's culture. Maybe it's hustle culture, feeling like you've got to get it all done because if you don't, this person's going to come out with it first. Or if you don't, this person is going to come and take a space that you felt like should have been yours. But when you live and walk with God, you understand that he has the authority of what's yours. Nobody can take what belongs to you. Nobody can do what you do the way that you do it. It might be the same concept, same name, but you are you. And no one else can do that. They can't match your energy. They can't bring your anointing. What belongs to you belongs to you. I had to start thinking about that and shifting my mindset to an abundance. I feel like there's a scarcity of time, and so I run towards things. But if God has given them to me, if they are really truly mine, he will bring me to them at the right time because I'm in alignment, because I'm walking, I'm listening, I'm asking, I am seeking God. I'm seeking his will. I'm understanding his nature so that I can take the me out of it, that I can take the rush out of it, take my authority off of things and place them where God's authority should be. Anything that belongs to me that I can speak over is because God has given it to me. My relationships, my family, my career, my brand, my businesses, whatever they may be, it is vested to me through God. I don't have to rush them. I don't have to run them over. I don't have to chase them down because they belong to me. I've said this 100 different ways in many videos, and I preach this amongst my friends all the time. What happily ever after looks like for me is freedom. Freedom to be doing and living as God intended and in the ways that feel right for me. I want freedom in the work that I do. I want freedom in the way that I spend my time. I want freedom in the way that I live. And to see myself so close to that makes me know that I am so truly walking in happily ever after. There are still things that I want. That doesn't negate that. I still have goals. I still have dreams. I still have a lot of life that I want to live. But not for a second do I want to negate the fact that I've done some cool things, that I've had some great experiences, that I've got some beautiful relationships, and that God has been good to me. There have been things that have broken my heart. There have been things that have disappointed me deeply, but there have been no moments where I have been left to figure it out on my own. There have been no moments that I have been left to fight my battle by myself. God is with me. God is for me, just like God is for you. Don't miss your happily ever after trying to get to a destination. That is not what it's about. It's about the walk. Walk with joy, walk with peace, walk with celebration of where you've come from. Walk with opportunities of reflection for the things that hurt, but you made it through. You don't have to be known by millions of people in order to have impact and influence. All you need to do is be in alignment with God to see what He has in store for you. Those things are yours. Those things are your kingdom with your name on it. Those things cannot be taken from you. You have been given your happily ever after in the now. It's not about tomorrow. It's about the now. If your now has not shown you a promise that God has given, it's not done. Keep walking. There's still more joy to be had. There's still more love to be made. There is still more laughter to share. Again, please like, comment, subscribe, and you have to turn on those notifications so that you don't miss these videos coming from Hey Shannon Ray. These will be available on a podcast form very, very soon. I'll be sure to announce it. Please, if you have a moment, also go over to our You Good Sis page. It is a podcast being hosted by myself and my best friend, Benita Bolton. Make sure you're subscribed to You Good Sis and Hey Shannon Ray, and I can't wait to see you on the next video. Bye.